We don't come here as a proud people asking for handouts. We don't want and will not be mendicant. What we want, no, what we need is fiscal and policy space. Fiscal and policy space to achieve sustainable development, to be nimble, to adapt, and to innovate in ways that allow us to be true and faithful to the task of bringing prosperity to our people, or as in the theme of this General Assembly, to eradicate poverty, to educate our people, to include all such that there's not some outside and some inside. We want an international order equally that recognizes that there must be different policy prescriptions to suit the circumstances that we all have.
Have you ever asked yourself why these Caribbean countries, a lot of them are being sanctioned, like travel advisory? Here it has been put on level 3, insecurities because of gun violence. So don't go to Jamaica, don't go to Trinidad, don't go to Haiti, don't go to Grenada. I've been asking myself, why is it like that? If it's about gun violence, USA, I think it leads with gun violence. There's some states in USA, they don't show us on social media or on TV or on... but it is tricky to live there because of insecurities. But they are not being sanctioned. But why Caribbean? And I got to understand that that's per me, that Caribbean is very capable. Caribbean has shaped a lot of things. These guys are top-notch. Music industry, music culture is being shaped by Caribbean, by Jamaica. USA music being shaped by Caribbean. African music being shaped by Caribbean. Athletics, we have the top athletics coming from Caribbean, Jamaica leading. And a white person, they know where the truth is. They know where they will shut so that black people will continue suffering. And whenever they see you from Caribbean raising your head, they shut it down. And that's what they are doing, shutting down Caribbean. Now, today's video, I'm going to react on this video of Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, one of a kind. This lady is amazing. This lady, she breathes fire. This lady, she's bold and fearless. And I think this is one of the black leaders we need. One of them. Listen to this and then we'll go react on it.
Mr. President, unfortunately, the Caribbean today also finds itself at the front line of too many other major challenges. That's why I ask all the time, who sees us and who hears us? We continue to be confronted by problems of blacklisting, which pale into insignificance when compared to climate change, but which destroy our financial sector. The illicit flow of weapons, such that the ease with which people can go into public spaces and shoot and kill others is now regarded as just another item on the news because we promote profit in the manufacture and trade of guns and weapons, of non-communicable diseases that strike down our people in the most insidious of ways because we allow diets that promote the prosperity of a few multinational corporations to become the norm of the day with the food that we eat and the lives that we live. And in the case within our own community, Belize and Guyana continue to face challenges to their territorial integrity. I suppose people feel that because we have talked so long about Belize and Guyana and Cuba, that we can continue to talk about climate change and these other things, and that it is okay for it to be another tick on a UN General Assembly speech. These are all threats to our stability, to the people's stability in our lands. But you know, since last we met, there are other instances and circumstances, not of our making, that may yet destabilize us. And we say it over and over, but we ask who is listening. And you know, we don't come with tales of woe only. The Caribbean has produced excellence It really has. Nobel laureates, sportsmen who have excelled and are the best in the world of their type, artists, the best in the world of their type, leaders who have inspired previous generations and current generations. We don't come here as a proud people asking for handouts. We don't want and will not be mendicant. What we want, no, what we need is fiscal and policy space. Fiscal and policy space to achieve sustainable development, to be nimble, to adapt, and to innovate in ways that allow us to be true and faithful to the task of bringing prosperity to our people, or as in the theme of this General Assembly, to eradicate poverty, to educate our people, to include all such that there's not some outside and some inside. We want an international order equally that recognizes that there must be different policy prescriptions to suit the circumstances that we all have. And we can still be friends, small and large, north and south, Christian, Hindu, Muslim, all different races, all genders. An equitable and just international order that is truly built on the principles of justice and fairness for all and not just for some. A United Nations that recognizes that as 74 years old, we must be able to have difficult conversations as mature people and solve them. Many in the developing world were persuaded or required to abandon policies that were designed for the majority of our population to be transformed. And those policies were fashioned to adopt a consensus that was settled in Washington, D.C. and named thereafter. And that ultimately, regrettably, was about the consolidation of wealth in the hands of a very few. That's why we have seen the growing inequality that we have seen in the world over the last few decades. That is why too many people over the world have become cynical about governments and about the benefits that they can bring to them. The fueling of the greed of a few threatens to undermine what little gains we have made since independence. And we judge ourselves harshly because independence is a recent phenomenon for us. Others who have taken 150 years to get where they have gotten are still stumbling and falling. And you want to judge those who have had less than 50 or 60 years to operate in a world that has not been made in their image and that does not reflect their interests. This is the fate, my friends, of simply too many. And Mr. President, despite our small sizes, the 14 countries of the Caribbean community have been able to play leadership roles of international import. I can't stand here today without talking about St. Vincent and the Grenadines, that has become the smallest nation of the world ever to be elected to the Security Council to sit on it. We are proud of them. In addition, and I want to speak to this, because when CARICOM was confronted with the unfolding situation in Venezuela, I accompanied the then chairman of CARICOM, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, as well as the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, to meet in this building with the UN Secretary General in January of this year. And we met with many delegations. And some said we were wasting our time. And some said the time for talk was already over. And we said then, as we say almost 9 months later, the time for dialogue, the time for talk, my friends, can never be over in a world that wants peace and prosperity. We don't take sides, but what we know is that you cannot propel war over dialogue. The people of Venezuela must be allowed to decide their own future in accordance with the principles of the United Nations Charter. Principles of non-intervention, non-interference, prohibition of the threat or use of force, respect for the rule of law, human rights, and democracy. It is regrettable that other multilateral organizations have not followed their own charters. And that is what makes the actions of our Secretary General of the UN more laudable, for refusing to breach his own charter and take actions even though member states have hurled into the recognition of those unelected. Our Caribbean Sea must remain a zone of peace, and for that we shall fight. Mr. President, I speak plainly and without fear, because from independence, Barbados' foreign policy has been premised on the simple principle of friends of all, satellites of none. Barbados, therefore, has always remained and will remain proud to have Cuba as a treasured friend. Barbados established relationships with the People's Republic of China when others failed to. We may be small, but we are principled. Our relationship is based with Cuba on a historical foundation rooted in solidarity, cooperation, and complementarity of a common Caribbean civilization. And we say that the long-standing economic embargo on Cuba continues to be a cause of serious concern. I reaffirm Barbados' strong opposition to this unilateral action, and more so, the recent activation of Article 3 of the Helms-Burton Law imposes new restrictions and further exacerbates the situation. And I ask you here, to what end? To what end? The continued attempt to stop the people of Cuba from living with basic human dignity is unacceptable. Mr. President, it is time that the global community recognizes that small island developing states are truly equal partners in the international arena, and that our special development needs must be taken into account in the multilateral forum. Growth in the economies of the developed states, we contend, must not come at the existence of the very viability of small developing statements. Small children have a phrase for it. They call that cowardice. They call that bullying. They call that crowding out. We ask for fairness, equity, and opportunity to take our legitimate place in the global community. That is all. That was the promise of our membership of this organization. And I know that today I have a duty to acknowledge and commend the heroic efforts of our Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, who is swimming against the rising tide of anti-multilateralism and anti-globalism, navigating the dangerous currents of dwindling resources and resisting, my friends, the efforts to set adrift all of the excellent work done over the last 7.5 decades by leaders across the world and his predecessors to ensure development, peace, and the dignity of human family. As a small nation, we are not only committed to multilateralism, we also understand that it is the one thing that protects our sovereignty and our ability to navigate in this world. It is our buffer against the display of might, and it is our shield against tyranny. We continue to view the United Nations as an important mechanism for achieving international peace and security and sustainable development for all countries, but in particular for the most vulnerable.
Welcome back. Barbados PM Mia Mottley was in this meeting and she brought fire. She told them, you know what? We don't want to be bullied anymore because you are bullying us. You guys are bullying us, putting this travel advisory here and there. We are not borrowing you anything. You are capable of producing our own. We have sugarcane. We have tourist sites. We have musicians. We have talents. We are not here to borrow you anything. Why are you shutting us down? By the way, if we talk about Jamaica, Jamaica can do by itself. It can grow its economy by itself. And here, Mia Mottley, she's talking about, she's supporting Caribbean countries. They are going through a lot in the hands of UK, in the hands of America, simply because they don't want them to be great. They don't want them to see life. It's very hard. It's very hard for you as a white person to see these black people thriving, and yet you very well, you are the supreme. What you will do, you will create a system, and this system you will be the one controlling. A system of making sure they are not going anywhere. And it's happening in Caribbean, it's happening in Africa too. Now in Africa, what they do, they don't put sanctions because they are getting their resources here. So they can't put sanctions as they come here to get the resources. What they are doing in Africa, they are labeling Africa as poor. They are labeling Africa as people of low IQ. They are labeling Africa as people of violence, like uncivilized people. There is a way they label Africa so that they can brainwash your mind. You as a white person, you as an Afro-Caribbean, you as a black American who want to visit Africa, you think Africa of something where there is a lot of sickness, Ebola, HIV, like people are just walking, people are sick. They are selling fear on you so that you cannot come to Africa. Black countries are being muted in a way that we think that we don't think so much about it. But when you sit down and think why they are doing that, it's because they know whenever you guys are united, whenever Caribbean, Black Americans and Africans are united, it is over for them. And that's why they will label Africa like this. They will label Caribbean like this. They will label Black Americans like this. Each and every black community is being labeled in a way that you will believe. There is no direct flight from Caribbean to Africa for a long time. And we were thinking, is it because they don't want us to reconnect? Why do you put level 3 travel advisory to Jamaica, and yet America itself it's banning due to gun violence? Caribbean is rich in tourists. These guys are rich in tourists. They can just grow their country's economy just by the tourism sector. They do agriculture. These guys have talents, but they know we have to shut down their greatness. And we will only shut down their greatness by putting some sanctions, this and this, just talking bad about them. It is so bad that we as black people, we don't open our eyes and see this is a game. It is so bad that we as black people, we don't take these things seriously. We don't take them seriously. They put a travel ban, they put travel advisory, and we are there like, oh, damn it. Now we can't go to Jamaica. Now, black people too who want to visit Jamaica, they don't want to visit Jamaica. They don't want to visit Caribbean because there is travel ban, level 3 travel advisory. Don't go to Jamaica. People, Afro-Caribbeans, African in diaspora who want to come in Africa, black Americans who want to come to invest in Africa, they won't come in Africa to invest just because there is this something in mind that Africa is like this. You are being muted. You can't invest in Africa. And that's why we are crying every day that, oh, as Pan-Africanism, we need to do this. But again, you African in diaspora, you need to invest in Africa. But this African in diaspora, they can't invest in us because they have been brainwashed that Africa is bad. They don't want you to reconnect with the nature. They don't want you to reconnect with your people. They don't want Caribbeans and Africans to reconnect. Everyone has been given his stories. Some have been given as violent people. Some have been given as poor people, sick people. We as black people, we have been labeled in different ways. And a video that I put yesterday, this video here, that I told you all black people or all Africans must watch this video, it has sense on this. There is some things white people, or if I talk about Cat Williams said this, white people, they are watching us black people. They Every time they watching us because they want to know, have we know what we know? There is something they know about us that we don't know. Every time they are here watching us, thinking that we have wake up. And we will wake up, we will wake up. Mia Mottley, this speech was amazing. And we need a lot of black leaders who can just say as it is. Don't sugarcoating. We need a lot of black leaders who can come out and boldly and fearlessly speak about these things. And we need to wake up as black people. We don't need to be carried like this. If you are being told something, think twice. Why is it like this? Why are you not told, or why are you being told not to go in Congo? Why are you not told not to go in Kenya? And yet they are here, extracting and mining everything. So tell me what you think on the comment section. I know you have some things to say there. Don't forget to subscribe on this YouTube channel. Don't forget to comment. Say what you have to say. As a black person, as a Caribbean, as a Jamaican, as an African, do you see what I'm seeing? They're shutting us down. They don't want us to raise our head. They are taking the people, the brains in Africa. Every black country where when you have brains, you are being taken. Because they know these brains will awaken something. And that's why they have shut down a lot of bold leaders we had in Africa, who had the vision and future of Africa. Tell me what you think in the comment section. Until next episode, peace be with you.